Hi, my name is Gil Robertson, president of the African American Film Critics Association. Today, we are thrilled to be talking again with Jeremy Pope, the winner of our AAFCA TV honors for his performance in Hollywood. We're going to kick things off, starting with our facilitator, Katia Woods in Philadelphia, but in LA today, Nancy Green in Baltimore, Maryland, Carolyn Hines in Toronto, Samuel Leggett in Washington, D.C., Ruben Perlada Regaud in Miami, Florida, Ray Cornelius in Atlanta, Georgia, and Rhonda Rasha Penrice also in Atlanta. Jeremy's going to talk to us today about his fabulous role in an amazing new film called The Inspection. I'm going to let you guys do what you do so well, and we'll see you on the other side.
Let's move! Come on! If your shirt is untucked, you will tuck it in! Aye, aye, sir! Aye, aye, sir!
Ever been convicted of a felony? Are you communist?
60, 50, 40, 30.
Are you now, or have you ever been a homosexual?
No, sir!
I will break you. I promise.
Are you in trouble?
Ma, I need my birth certificate. I need you to help me. I'm gonna be a Marine.
Marines. No, you ain't scared than two left shoes, and everybody can see it.
And more than 50 had been wounded or injured in this attack, including several American servicemen who were on patrol there.
This all I have left of the dream I held for you.
Real question is, why do you want to be here?
I want to be a Marine.
That's not good enough.
To be a good Marine means to know thyself and seek self-improvement. That means you, damn it!
Aye, sir!
They kicked you out, didn't they?
My mom, she won't even talk to me. Most of my friends are dead or in jail. If I die in this uniform, I'm a hero. Somebody.
Who kept it supposed to break you down?
Want to go home?
If we leave, they win.
Why is this weapon your best friend recruited?
Because it's the thing that protects the Marine to my left and to my right, sir.
I could have left you at any doorstep.
I am never giving up on us.
Samuel Leggett with JVS Media Productions. Jeremy, thank you. With your approach for Ellis French, what was it like for the preparation, not just the physical preparation for immersing yourself into where he has to go military-wise, but emotionally? Like the relationship with the mother is the keystone, the cornerstone, almost like the crux of why he's doing what he's doing, but there's something else deeper and darker that he's still trying to process within himself. I was curious your process of tackling this bigger than life obstacle, figure out how the character is going to go.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, you know, this story written by Elegance Bratton, this is his story. He was going to be my writer and my director. So early on, it was, I need you to trust me. That's the only way that this is going to work as we craft our version of who French is in these stakes and in these situations. We shot our movie in 19 days, which is very ambitious for an indie film and for a first-time filmmaker. So it was an all in. I got there, and yes, I knew the role would be physically demanding, but it was emotionally demanding, and it was about me being a vessel and being this place for him to kind of pour into me stories and information, and then for me to negotiate what is necessary and useful in crafting my version of French. And I think for this role, I was able to see what was on the page, but I thought our audience's way to French immediately is going to be this perspective of what he's going through and how he's experiencing it. So it was about what wasn't on the page. And, you know, it became about the perspective of understanding what French is feeling, honestly, without saying it, this relationship, like you said, with his mother, which is the North Star for him, is the reason for going kind of to the service and going through this trauma, to reach this end game of reconnecting with his mother. And that's what this film was for Elegance. He hadn't spoken to his mom in many years. And he knew that if I make a film and Gabrielle Union plays you, that somewhere in the streets you'll find out about this and you'll have to see me fully. Unfortunately, his mom passed 4 days after our movie was greenlit. So he didn't get to have that resolve and resolution. People always ask what happened afterwards and want to know, but there was still this longing for each other and this fantasy of them connecting and seeing each other fully and loving each other unconditionally, when the only way they had kind of loved each other for years was through different conditions.
You were amazing. Thank you.
Hi, Jeremy. My name is Ruben Peralta from Cocalecas.net. This is your first lead role, and this is Elegance's first movie. How was the pressure for you two guys, have this chemistry, and you say like you were a vessel? Right. How was this chemistry that you guys had to bond to create this amazing film?
Right. Yeah. The thing that's been beautiful for me is I've been able to work with really incredible collaborators, mostly in theater. So I've led plays, I've led musicals. I think acting on stage is like Marine boot camp for acting, because you're doing 8 shows a week and learning how to make it new and tell the story the same way every night. All of those tools are very resourceful when it came to leading my film debut with Elegance, who this is his first time with the camera and experiencing things in this way in 19 days. There's a lot that we need to get done. But again, it started with that trust and being like, our days are going to be long days, and there's going to be a lot asked of all of us, specifically you, Elegance, as a filmmaker. So you have to trust me and trust that the instincts that are coming to the surface are right. And his job is there to inform me on how to make, just smarter decisions that are reading for our audience, which is the lens. So we said yes to that early on, and it became kind of this harmony, and he trusted me. He says that I was his first choice always, which was special to hear after getting the job. But I read the script, I think June, and it wasn't until 9 months later that I got the call that I was actually going to be able to be a part of it. And that was hard because I felt instinctually I was supposed to do this project. There's certain, feelings you get in your gut, but it was just taking time. And I don't know if that was because Jeremy hadn't led a studio film, so there were no box office mentioned. Like, I didn't have those things yet that maybe equip a studio with taking a bet or a chance on me. But life does the thing that it's supposed to do, and who's meant to be in the room will be in the room. So once I was given that A-OK, and Elegance trusted me to bring French to life, I think it kind of created this bond. And I didn't feel pressure. I felt fearless in doing this because I know that I could. And that it was special to know that my writer, my director, and the source of everything also believed in me.
Jeremy Pope, Ray Cornelius with Upfront Inside Atlanta's entertainment industry. I want to go back to the physicality, because watching the film, I got tired watching you go through everything.
That's real.
So and were you in character the entire time since you had 19 days?
Man, it was tough. I'd be downplaying it, but it was hard. Like, it was challenging. It was so demanding. We were in the middle of Jackson, Mississippi in 117-degree weather. I remember there was one day I passed out on set. It was just all of these things that, that sometimes took no acting required, you know what I mean? And doing these drills and being thrown into the pool and having to like do these very physically demanding things was challenging. And I kept trying to be like, you got it. Think mind over matter. Like, you can do it, but it was hard. And there were days where I felt weak and I felt like I didn't have it. And I felt like a trash actor. And I felt there was all of those things, but, Elegance, my cast, my crew, they were very affirming. This project was very affirming for me. So I just tried to trust that, to know that I was being used for something bigger and greater. And whenever I felt weak, I tried to use that to, help kind of narrate and nuance maybe what French was going through. I was like, I know if I'm tired, he was definitely tired. You know what I mean? And that definitely helped in kind of crafting, what this experience was like for Elegance and ultimately for French,
Hi, my name is Nancy Green with Film Critique. And I was really interested in the progression of acceptance that he received from his fellow Marines as they were training. Can you talk a bit about that, that process of him going from being rejected by them to eventually accepted?
I think what happens in our story is, the North Star is his relationship with his mother and going through the Marines to make it to graduation for his mother to see him. And he is being ostracized and made to feel less than. But what happens is he finds this self-worth and self-acceptance within inside and goes, you know what, I'm gonna make it out. I'm gonna be okay. And he starts standing in his truth and stops the shape shifting and the contorting to meet others' expectations, but ultimately just serving himself and his capability. And what you watch happens is everyone around him, maybe not going through this LGBTQIA experience, but having this expectation and this responsibility to be what these institutions want you to be, which most times is an unrealistic example of what strength and a man is. And for French to be strong, powerful, vulnerable, those are his tools and his weapons and what makes him the strongest person in those spaces. So you start to see these other boys in the platoon kind of open themselves, like French opens them up, becomes a safe space for them in an odd way because of how he was able to kind of just be a place of refugee and healing. And I think that just speaks to elegance and his optimism and his light as a human being. That's what I felt when I hopped on a Zoom and got to connect with him. And, I think it's an interesting journey of once he was given purpose and affirmed in his worth of being able to protect the man to his left and to his right and his life have meaning. That's when he began to take the steps and walk in his purpose. And that's contagious. People see that and they want to be better. They want to show up better. And I think that's what we see happen with his platoon.
Hi, Jeremy. Katia Woods with Cup of Soul Show, the Philadelphia Tribune. One of the things that I love about your performance in this film, it's about finding your purpose. And I think, can you talk a little bit about that? Because I feel like even though he was going through everything, he had found, his perseverance and his purpose that helped push him forward.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I have my own. There's so many ways I could go about it. Just me, all of us trying to figure out who we are meant to be in this life. And I think coming from my experience of growing up in the church and having family members want me to be successful, wanting to be the first person that goes to college and there's all these ideas of who you're supposed to be. And oftentimes people are trying to push you to be these different versions, I think ultimately at your safety. It's like, if all we're hearing about is Black queer men dying of HIV and AIDS, it's like, yeah, grandma don't want you to be Black and gay, because that to them is a death sentence and there's no protection and there's no safety in that. So I've had to kind of navigate life with trying to understand like what relationships I can have with certain family members that maybe don't see me for all that I am, that don't accept me for all that I am. I've had to kind of negotiate what is my relationship to religion, because I want to believe that God is for me and will protect me, but this is saying one thing and people are making me to feel another thing. So all of this negotiation for me to just show up fully in my purpose, right? And I think the moment I started to step in the direction of spaces that supported and loved and nurtured me, the evolved version of who I was in that moment, that's when all of these amazing things started to happen for my career. That's when all of these things that I had never dreamt of began to become realities. And I think that is the story of French. He was down on his luck. He didn't have many resources and opportunities. And, elegance, he was homeless for 10 years. So the Marines wasn't his first attempt at trying to make it right. This was one of the many attempts. But what happened when he joined the service, it gave his life meaning and purpose. Someone said, your purpose here is to protect the man to your left and to your right. And that gave him an awareness of self-confidence, of self-acceptance, of a responsibility to take care of self and the ability to take care of someone else. And him taking those steps forward, maybe not serving this relationship with his mother that wasn't pouring into him, but allowing himself to flourish and step into his purpose. Here we are with him having his feature film debut as a filmmaker, giving me healing, giving Gabrielle healing, like his story becomes bigger and it starts to resonate on a different level, which is something he probably didn't know when he was signing up to be a Marine, you know what I mean? But that was a part of the journey, and every decision led to another decision, but ultimately got him, further aligned in his purpose.
Hi, Jeremy, Carolyn for So Here's What Happened and Karen and Toss podcast. You give an extremely impressive performance in this film. And one of the things that really impressed me is your physicality. Like before you talked about the exhaustion and dealing with the heat, and you mentioned the word contortion, which is actually what I want to talk about, because French goes through a physical transformation as well as a psychological and emotional transformation. And the way you do it is like he begins with his shoulders very stooped and rounded and hunched in. And as he trains, and as he trains, he begins to open up, his chest opens up, you start to stand straighter. He has that confidence, it comes through in his voice. But there's a dichotomy in that, because to me, the training that Marines and armed forces go through is psychological breaking. Like it breaks you down psychologically and emotionally. But the way how you change that and you make that into a physical transformation for French, a positive one where he's more self-affirmed. Can you talk about having that process and going through that process in 19 days and working with elegance on how you just created the physical transformation of French? Because to me, that's the part that I just really latched on to in your performance.
Thank you. And thank you for saying that, because a lot of the time, and this is just the way of making movies, you're shooting out of order, you know what I mean? So you're trying to track story points, you're trying to just to get through your day. But that was a lot of the work that I wanted to do, and I knew that I could do for myself before getting in a room with elegance, was just trying to understand what the body was saying. Because I think sometimes that is everything. It's like, can you walk in a room and can I somehow create my version of what you may be going through, where you may be coming or where you may be going? And I think those are always interesting ways to learn about a character. So I began to just do that, and every opportunity, finding a way to, how is he talking? How is he showing? How is he contorting himself to feel safe in this space? And that's only because I've done that. We all have done it. When you're in a space, a bunch of white folk, you maybe talk a little bit different, and the T's start to get real TTTs, and the R's, you know what I mean? It's like you're doing this thing to feel safe, to feel amongst, I'm with y'all, are y'all with me? And then we know when we're with the fam and we're at the cookout, it's a whole different energy. You start to sit back, you in the pocket. And I wanted to see that evolution of French, of like, when does he start to feel comfortable? When does his feminine side start to appear and him not care? When does he stand truth in his strength and his masculinity of knowing I am powerful as well? And I thought all of those things would help inform and kind of create this arc of, like you said, the emotional, psychological journey and of what he goes through, and how ultimately, I don't think it's a story about this person that wasn't equipped with these things. He always had it within. It was about him becoming aware and awakened by it, and then stepping firmly in it. So the French that we see at the top, meeting his mother, Gabrielle Union, is very different than the French we see at graduation. Still with the same belief of boot camp didn't make me straight. And when you're ready, I'll be here. You know what I mean? And I think to be able to see him get to that evolved version is what makes this story, a hero journey of someone finding self-love and self-confidence and knowing what they're willing to tolerate. And again, just taking those steps of freedom, and freedom is stepping in your purpose. And I think in that, we've been able to see such amazing things happen for elegance,
Hey, it's Rhonda. You've kind of talked about this a little bit, but one of the things that, this characterization does is it's as emotionally intense as it is physically intense. But one of the things that, really strikes me is I think that people who have not walked in these shoes are not aware of the tremendous stress. And you see that throughout, and it just, there are just times that break your heart. Why do you think that is important to not just go beyond the surface level of the portraits that we've seen, and to especially put up a mirror to our society and how you really it's just not mentally well to treat people this way.
Right. And I think you just said it about, some in stories and being a storyteller, we have the ability to put up mirrors and kind of show the world itself and just say, how does that feel? To ask the question, to not comment on it, but to just say, how does that feel? And sometimes it does break you. It is painful to witness and to feel. And even as an actor, it's sometimes hard to go, is that how we want to portray this? Is that how we want to do it? But what I know is that it's honest, that it's real, that sometimes it isn't a happy ending where everyone goes, okay, I accept you, you made it through the thing, we can move on. Sometimes it's those hard traumas. Sometimes it's the hard pain of realizing this film was another attempt for him reaching out to his mother, and his mother never got to see that. And that's real. And that's the complex nature. That's how far someone will go to reach this fantasized, unrealistic idea of wanting someone to see them fully. And it's complicated. He never hated his mother. This film wasn't about hating his mother. It was about the love, the churning, the pain, the heartache, like all of that, and how complex that is. And I think it is so vulnerable for him to put himself out there in that way, because now we have the opportunity, as art, it's subjective. So we can comment whether we like the movie or not, or whether we thought it did what it was supposed to do or not, but this is his truth. This is his story. Whether you like it or not, this is, these are real moments. So that was a part of me saying yes to this indie project and shooting it 9 days, was going, I'm gonna be used for something bigger. And I know Jeremy Pope, seeing a film like this would have affirmed me a long time ago. And maybe some of the years of me getting to the evolved place that I have gotten to, maybe it would have came a little sooner, if being able to see myself represented, or to know that people are going to make stories about marginalized groups of people and care for them in a real and an honest way, that sometimes it isn't a happy ending or the ending that you expect, but you're going to be okay. And there is a way through and a way out.
Yeah, in the theater, I cried because it just breaks my heart. It really does.
Thank you for sharing.
Jeremy, fantastic. Another fantastic performance, man. You are just really doing this. And we're so very proud of you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time today, and know that we are here to support you every step of the way.
I appreciate it.
On behalf of the world's largest group of Black TV and film critics, thank you for watching this edition of AAFCA Roundtables, and happy holidays.
Thank you so much.
Thank y'all.